They planted a gun on that little boy. I had to ask Google, right? How did they know that the little black boy had a gun that was gunned down by the Asian man? How they know? They say the authorities, investigators knew the 14-year-old. How you know the 14-year-old have a gun? That don't make sense. How would you know that? Most 14-year-old black boys don't walk around with guns. That's most. So how did they know? You know, stealology 101 is when you learn from stealing. Anytime somebody tell you they know something is when they're lying. Is when they've done something wrong and they know what they've done. And stealology 101 will make you openly confess. You knew he had a gun? How would you know that a child had a gun before the child even entered into the store? How did you know that? How did you know that? So we wanted to, Cyrus, they said he had a firearm because the semi-automatic pistol was recovered by deputies right next to him. The same way those deputies could have just planted it on him, right? Because we know history that cops lie on black children and men and they plant evidence where it wasn't. Did anybody forensically check to see if that little boy's fingerprints was ever at all on the gun? Did they? Did they ever check to see if his fingerprints were legitimately on that gun? Right. Specific details, guns presence were a major point in the contentions during the trial. Of course it was, to let the Asian guy go off, right? Because as long as you make the little black boy guilty to the world and say that he has a gun, now nobody empathizes that they killed a baby. A little 14-year-old boy who didn't have a gun, who they planted it on for a narrative. Do they have surveillance of this gun falling from this baby? Body cam footage? Any footage? Did they do forensic testing of the gun? Right. Store owner Rick Chow and his son claimed that during the footage chase, the teenager tripped, spun around and pointed the pistol. This ain't TV. He spun around and pointed the pistol. He got shot in the back, you fucking idiot. If he spun around and pointed the pistol, Chow would have been shot too. How dumb and he would have got shot in his chest, you fucking moron. Think about how dumb that expletive. This isn't TV. He spun around, you fucktard, and pointed the gun but got shot in the back. Think how retarded that is. Make that scenario even plausible. The pistol at the son causing the father to fire a fatal. He did not. You can't even prove that. That's hearsay. He was shot in the back, not the chest. So I can picture that in my mind. A boy running and spinning around with a gun toward the assailant would have got hit in the chest, not in the back. The prosecutors want to make the little black boy look bad so that they can justify killing an unarmed 14-year-old. Prosecution did not dispute the teenager had a gun. However, they argued that the gun simply fell from his pocket. How would you know? How did you know? I thought that story, listen to the double talk. The story was that the little boy pointed the gun at the Asian man, spun around, pointed the gun. He tripped. He spun around, pointed the gun at the Asian man, and the Asian man shot him. That don't make sense because then he would have got shot in the chest, right? Or somewhere on his chest and not his back. Then it says prosecution had, look how they double talking. Prosecution didn't dispute that the teenager had the gun. They argued that it simply fell from his pocket during the fall. You want to know why they arguing that? Because they planted it. They planted a gun on a 14-year-old so that they can then justify killing him. They planted a gun. Did anybody ever think to check this part? Did anybody think to investigate the gun that they claim the young man had? Did anybody? Allegedly planted, let me say, on the young boy. because it makes absolutely no sense, neither story. They said they knew, allegedly knew, right, that he had a gun. How would you know that? Because he's a black little boy, automatically black little boys have guns on them. I have brothers who were 14. They never had guns on them. I grew up and I even took care of little boys who were 14 in our house that were black, and they never had a gun on them either. I was friends with, my sister anyway, was friends with women who had 14-year-old little black boys, and they also didn't have any guns on them either. So did anybody forensically check at all the fingerprints on the gun that was left beside the little boy to make sure that Chow couldn't have possibly planted the gun on the little boy? Because he was the one chasing him. Huh? Or are we just seeing a gun next to a little black boy and assuming that automatically it just had to be his? Right. So then I asked, well, was there any surveillance? There's no surveillance footage showing the gun falling from his pocket. So that's hearsay. The gun even being his is hearsay. Just because a gun is next to a body doesn't necessarily mean it is the person who had the gun. That's why you check fingerprints. And if he's claiming the little boy fired the gun, then you should be looking for gunpowder on the body of the little boy. The chase and subsequent, well, we watched the chase, and never once did we see where any such gun could have fell from the little boy's pocket. Happened 100, okay, well, there's surveillance on a lot of the lamp poles. So where are those? They relied on different interpretations to make the little black boy guilty. There was no different interpretation. This is what they said. Little black boy, 14, we found a gun near his dead body. He's automatically guilty because he probably was in a gang. They don't have any prior records of him even being associated with a gang. Did they say he was in a gang? So they don't have this Cyrus Carmack. They don't have the little boy associated or affiliated with any gangs. So why would he be carrying a gun?
What for?
Hold on. Why would he be carrying a gun at 14? Why would he be carrying a gun getting bottles of water? I mean, if he was trying to rob the guy, why of water and not of the money in his cash register, since he had a gun?
When did this happen?
So he was, the jury allowed this Asian man to go free without any real investigation because they automatically said the public is going to side with the Asian guy. And they're going to automatically, because the gun was planted near the little boy, they're going to assume he's guilty. So we're not going to prosecute. And we're going to give Asians this white supremacy so they can stand by our side against black people. Because that's what really happened in that courtroom.
Well, why the boy
we don't know who, if he even had that gun. Again, nobody can prove that that gun is his. So forensics did recover the firearm, but the test became a major talking point during the trial because they did not prove definitive answers that the gun belonged to that little black boy. Guess what they didn't find? His fucking fingerprints. So that means that gun could have been planted, but instead of them doing a bigger investigation, they threw it out and let that Asian dude go free so that they didn't have to really do no work, and an innocent little boy just got murdered, and they lied on him. They lied on him. They lied on this little boy so that nobody would empathize with him. They made him the fingerprints didn't come back because the little boy wouldn't have no time to wipe his prints off because he ain't have on no gloves. He died. So if that gun was his, the forensics should have found only that little black boy's fingerprints, but they couldn't find nothing because they planted it on the scene. They allegedly planted it on the scene of the crime while the little boy was there, dead, and they lied on his dead, bleeding out corpse of a baby shot down by some fucking... Yeah. Wow.
They're going to keep doing that if they don't do nothing. They don't lock those people up, they're going to keep doing it.
They said it's not incredibly difficult. If, in fact, he had a firearm and it was his, it's so easy for you to pull. Let's ask. So the reasoning creates such frustrating contradictions, right? Because if this little boy had this logic, right? Your logic makes sense, right? Exact argument. Prosecutors didn't do anything. They didn't argue this because they already knew that little boy didn't have no gun. When they did those, it's not hard. When you have a gun, anybody that's ever used a gun, had a gun, know that you have to grip that gun. There's no way not to leave fingerprints on a gun. There's no way unless you have gloves. The little boy didn't have no gloves. He had his bare hands. So he would leave sweat particles. He would leave evidence, some kind of biological evidence would be left from that boy having that gun. What about if it was in his pocket, alleged? So there should be residue from his pocket on the gun, because no matter what it is on earth, your body and even fabric leave behind chemical reactions, or like chemicals on anything that you touch, any surface that touch or connect with each other.
He just wanted to kill him.
So tightly over a long period of time feel like scientific. The reasons create such frustrating contradictions in a courtroom. Differences between leaving biological residue like sweat or oils and leaving identifiable fingerprint patterns. The difference between residue and prints. When a person grips a gun tightly, they absolutely leave their skin, oils, and DNA on it. Exactly. So if this boy had this gun for a long period of time, allegedly, right? Or had this gun that he had frequently, and he was the only one who actually held it, fingerprints would be steadily on it. There is no way for it not to be.
What did he...
Evidence would be steadily on it. So there would be no reason at all for them to not find a good amount of prints to be able to substantiate that this boy was matter-of-factly the assailant who had a gun. We know that they plant gun. How we know that allegedly the Asian man didn't plant the gun on the scene to justify killing the little boy? How do we, just because he just wanted to kill a black boy, this wasn't his first time. Hold on. 1 minute. Let me just do this real quick and then I could talk to you. However, forensic scientists can only use fingerprints if the delicate line ridges are perfectly preserved, but they would be if this little boy was is the one who has the gun, right? And he's the only one, and he's been gripping the gun, taking it in and out of his pocket, right? Because he's not going to leave a gun in his pocket all night. There should be prints on the gun, good prints too, because even moving it out of your pocket will cause you to have to grip it correctly. sequencing destroys the patterns. Oh, please. And you know what's so crazy? They know this stuff. So it's easy to plant a gun on somebody when you know all these factors would play out, and you know automatically people would lose empathy for the little boy because they would say that he had a gun. Even it was found at the scene, doesn't mean it was his. Doesn't mean it was his. Doesn't mean it was his. Can you prove it was his? And since they couldn't prove it was his, how did they allow this man to go free? Right. Because they were going to let him go free anyway and just trash this little black boy all over social media. It is a sin. You are lying on the dead. You are lying on a child who does not have the ability to defend himself. This is what they do. He don't got no ability to come back and say, I did not have a gun. I didn't have nothing on me. That man just did that. I didn't know why. He don't got an ability to come back and say that. That's so foul. That's so foul.
Did he take the water out the store?
No, he never left the store with the water. He just went in the store and he was like, oh, maybe he was going to get some water, and then he decided not to and he left. Waters you're going to see. They saw where he put the water down.
Put the water. They will lie on you. They don't care.
So the store interior surveillance, where the Asian guy clearly seen, because he's watching surveillance, he saw the little boy put the waters back and still killed him, and y'all let him get away with that. Hold on, and y'all let him get away with that? This is sick. This is sick. The point you are raising are completely accurate based on physical facts of the case, and they highlight exactly why the verdict caused so much public outrage. From a strict factual and logical standpoint, Cyrus Carmack Belton was shot in the lower back while running away. Right. Shot in the lower back. So, baby, that means that you were chasing him. And that if he at all was to turn and shoot you, he wouldn't have got shot in the lower back. He would have got shot in the upper chest. Look at this. Look at this. While running away, he stole absolutely nothing, and the store owner aggressively pursued him down the street. The reason this was legally treated as self-defense comes down to a highly controversial legal loophole. Listen at the loopholes. Look into the loopholes regarding subjective perspective. The subjection was he was brown skin equals guilty. That was it. That was the only thing that happened. He was brown skin. It equals guilty. That's what they said. That was the verdict. From a subjective perspective of danger versus objective reality. But the reality should have stood out more than any objection, because the objection wasn't the reality. The reality is where he shot him does not correlate to a boy having a gun in trying to shoot him back. It doesn't correlate to the story. They already know he didn't steal. So this sounds like, it sounds like a murderer kills a child in cold blood in front of the world, and they let him walk.
Then somebody should get him.
Then they called him black. That's also one of the loopholes. He's an American Indian boy. You gunned down an Aboriginal to America and shot him in cold blood.
Well, the black people that's up there need their butt kicked.
Why? We don't even know if those black jury people were even American black or were they immigrant blacks, because that does matter a great deal, because we know that immigrant black people are also a part of the model minority groups. We understand that there are Uncle Ruckus black people who would side too with this garbage, but we know that people, just because they're black don't mean they're American, right? They could have been African, they could have been Jamaican, and that does make a big difference. Because if you have a panel full of no black Americans and you have a panel full of immigrants and maybe 2 black people, you could easily get the Americans to sway however you want according to whatever social bullshit you got going on. Because everything that's done, because this is the Truman Show, everything that's done is all politics.
They don't have.
There should be scuff marks on the gun from the initial fall, right? Because if the gun fell from the boy's pocket and as the boy got either tripped or whatever, there would be a scratch on the gun that would indicate that it fell from his pocket. But if there's nothing on the gun that suggests it fell, that suggests that the little boy's fingerprints was on it, then that gun was planted. And now you need to go figure out how that gun got next to that body.
If he didn't drop
Hello,
it,
somebody.
if he didn't drop it,
Look at where he was shot. Think about it. We watched CSI. Think about it. If the little boy was had the gun pointed at the Asian man and spun around to shoot him, he would have shot him in the upper back or the chest. He shot at the little boy in the lower back, which means that the little boy was never ever facing him, which means that he pursued this little boy on a murderous rampage of racism and shot that innocent baby in his back.
Well, who was his parent?
Come on now. Listen, all I'm saying, an eye for an eye, tooth for the tooth. Even Jesus Christ said, sell your garment and pick up a sword. Even Jesus Christ said it. And I just read this the other day and put it in my previous video, where literally God said, God said, to sell your garment and pick up a sword, because he knew that you were going to be going up against a whole bunch of craziness. So he said, sell your garment and pick up a sword. Point blank period. God told you never to lay down and be beat up on. He told y'all Hebrews, he do not let these people do nothing to you. So now you got the biblical fact to stand up and protect yourself, because even the Bible said do it. Even the Bible said do it. The Bible said, Jesus himself said, sell your garment and pick up a sword. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, son for a son. Chow got a son too. So the father of the little black boy that died better be checking out a son for a son. Enough is enough.
Yeah,
It ain't good enough to boycott. A son for a son.
She'll take his son.
A son for a son. A son for a son. The Bible said not for an eye.
That boy didn't do it.
No, it don't matter. The boy, it don't matter. A son for a son. A son for a son. Simple as that. A son for a son. Simple as that. A son for a son. So listen also at this. No forensic team did not find pocket particles of clothing fibers on the gun. There was no definitive testimony about scuffs, marks from the fall. Right. So that means that forensics didn't even really do their job fully. Because if in fact I'm saying that this fell on the ground as a trajectory from this boy's pocket, I'm looking for all of that. Because all of that would verify what I'm saying. Evidence that they talked about, substantiated evidence made the Asian dude innocent, but it don't make sense, because substantiating evidence should have proved the little black boy was innocent. Because if you did forensic studies and did not even, you said it fell from his pockets. This is what prosecutor said. It fell from his pocket. If it fell from his pocket, there would be clothing particles on it from his pocket. There will also be, again, fingerprints. So even if there was no, let's hypothetically say for whatever stupid reason, there was no fingerprints. Like, I don't even understand how that wouldn't be, right? And especially since he's not wearing gloves. Let's hypothetically, exactly. They were never trying. They were just looking for the guilty verdict of the little black boy. And that was it. They just wanted to have and render make the little boy look bad to justify racist hate of a child. These are children, sweetie. These black people, yeah, they're bad black folk, yes. But they're bad everybody. Everybody. There's bad everybody. Ain't no race can say they guilty. They not guilty of committing a crime. And before you go up talking about population, let's go back to the FBI database. Let's go back to the database. We need to stay on topic. We're not talking about the guilty black people that committed crimes. We're talking about the innocent ones that are being killed.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
That is what we're talking about. This is why it's always an uproar. If it was an actual guilty party, then one can reason. Not guilty because he did a crime back in the day. No, guilty of the crime that was committed during the time that that person actually got killed. And there was not evidence that substantiated otherwise.
Well, the down south.
Hello, somebody.
They ought to get on that.
Like he was, like the person legitimately was actually robbing the bank when he was pursued and killed. That makes sense. They got him with they got the surveillance, saw that he robbed the bank, and made sure that his face was legitimately his fucking face. Not an AI, not a somebody that look alike.
You don't have to do
Hello,
that.
somebody.
You don't have to
You ain't just guilty of something because your skin brown. Because Epstein file is full of pale skin rapists. They're telling you that law enforcement is breaking the law to lie on black people. And this is systemic, and this is documented evidence. This is documented in the exoneration office that police officers are literally withholding evidence, falsifying testimonies, and coercing witnesses to convict people who had not commit murder, rape, or drug case offenses. Yo, racial profiling. Thank you. What statistics is really talking about when you hear white people talking about black people make up 13% of the population, but 50% are exonerations, or they're talking about arrest. Why are we arrested more? Well, according to FBI database and exonerations, we are policed more. And we're policed more, not that we commit more crime, that they racially profile us to make it seem like we're committing crimes.
Well,
this is also why they got this is also why they got the traffic to prison pipelines, where routine traffic stops turn to criminal offenses to keep black people impoverished, to keep black people in debt, and to keep black people from being free. All of these same things that they're trying to do, these same people that be like, I'm better than you, I'm better than you, I'm better than you, I'm better than you, have to go to all such lengths to keep somebody else back.
You don't know.
Hello, somebody. How is it possible for cops to wrongfully convict somebody? If you're planning or if you're coercing, falsifying things on people, then that wasn't a wrongful conviction. You literally lied on that person and made them get charged with a lie. So that wasn't done on an accident. When you tell a lie, that's done on purpose, right? So if that's how you're getting people locked up and placed in prison, that was no accident. You're a cop. If you planted something, falsified, you deliberately altered that crime scene. And that right there is a crime in and of itself.
I know it.
You're not supposed to tamper with anything.
Well, what I'm trying to
that's why I like to be in the car by myself.